Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a truly fascinating chronological look at how our society actually structures the human experience. We're drawing from a really thought-provoking essay that strips away all the noise of modern life to ask a very basic, fundamental question about our inherent worth. So, if you've ever felt like you're just a cog in a machine, or if you just want a clearer, more structured way to understand the systems we're all living in, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to break down some complex societal critiques today, but don't worry, we're starting with a deeply uplifting foundation. Okay, let's dive right into this with the author's core thesis. Everyone is valuable with absolutely no exceptions. The source material starts right out of the gate by firmly rejecting the idea that some people matter less than others. According to the author, if a system or a leader makes you feel like you aren't valuable, well, that reflects entirely on them, not on you. It's a super powerful lens through which to view everything else we're about to cover. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at our inherent value, Phase 1, youth and conditioning, Phase 2, work and money, Phase 3, old age and wisdom, and we'll wrap up with a call to humanity. Section 1, our inherent value. Let's start right at the beginning. Think about it. Before any artificial expectations, job titles, or complex financial systems are placed upon us, we are simply a natural miracle of life. The author really emphasizes this biological reality just to remind us that our worth, it's built in. It isn't something we have to go out and earn from a corporation or a government. You arrive on this planet completely viable, full of potential, and ready to step into the world. And this brilliantly illustrates the three distinct seasons of a human life that the author uses to structure their whole critique of modern society. We've got the first 20 years dedicated to learning, the middle 40 dedicated to working and building, and those final years meant for reflection and wisdom. So let's look at what happens when our built-in value meets the reality of that very first phase. Section 2, Phase 1, Youth and Conditioning. In those first 20 years of life, the essay argues that we go through a pretty dramatic shift. We move from being recognized for our pure, natural value to being subjected to rigid societal conditioning. It's basically a tale of two trees. On one hand, you have what the source describes as system conditioning. Think of it like clipping a bonsai tree. Institutions, and the author actually points specifically to programs like the WHO's Young Executive Training here, carefully clip and prune young minds so they fit perfectly into a predefined corporate pot. The whole goal is obedience to the system. But on the flip side, we have natural talent. This is the oak tree approach. This is where youth are allowed to grow wildly and robustly, developing their own unique strengths for the benefit of the entire forest. You know how it goes in school, right? The author points out that our current grading systems are the primary tool for this bonsai-style clipping. If you conform perfectly to the pattern, boom, you get a 10 and you're labeled a top performer. But if you fail to fit that specific mold, you receive a low rating. And the author argues this just makes unique individuals feel like ignoramuses. From this perspective, society is really just grading mere obedience to the system, rather than actually nurturing true dynamic intelligence. But here's the good news. The source doesn't just dwell on the negative. There's a deeply uplifting pivot here. People are waking up to this artificial conditioning. The author notes that emerging movements are actively shifting away from these sterile boxes. Instead, we're seeing a growing focus on nurturing genuine human value, celebrating natural talents, prioritizing physical health, and teaching kids to act for the common good rather than just, memorizing answers to pass a standardized test. Section 3, Phase 2. Work and money. Now, as we step out of our youth, we enter the longest stretch of our timeline. This is where we're busy raising the next generation while trying to navigate some incredibly complex, demanding financial systems. And what's really interesting about this is the stark contrast the author draws between tangible, historical economies and what they actually call modern hoaxes. Historically, wealth was tied to raw materials. It maintained true value. You could always trade it for bread. It didn't just randomly devalue, and there were no investors. Now, compare that to modern systems, like Wall Street, which the essay critiques as giant gambling paradigms. The author argues that these systems allow people to profit from crises like wars, basically earning money lazily without producing any real value. And they see this trend only accelerating with AI automation. The essay suggests that these modern financial tools are entirely driven by power, money, and wealth. In fact, the author neutralizes the prestige of the people running these systems by referring to them as intelligent ignoramuses. Basically, people who might be highly conditioned to work the system, but who have completely lost sight of actual, inherent human value. Section 4. Phase 3. Old age and wisdom. This brings us to the final life phase, a time where physical limitations are meant to be beautifully countered by profound lived wisdom. The author highlights the immense, absolutely vital value of this third stage. It isn't a time of uselessness at all. It's a crucial period to recover from the relentless grind of phase 2. And more importantly, it is the time when people gain the clarity to see what truly matters. Older individuals are meant to act as pillars of wisdom, perfectly positioned to support their children who are currently caught in those exhausting struggles of the work and money phase. So the crucial point we need to ask is, what happens when a society obsessed with economic output just completely ignores this wisdom? Well, the author points to a tragic data point: 1 million. 1 million is the estimated number of people in Japan right now suffering as hikikomori in their later years. The author presents this really dark reality as the ultimate heartbreaking consequence of a system that just discards human beings once they stop generating money. When we stop valuing people intrinsically and we cut off support for the elderly, we create massive groups of individuals who just fade into total isolation. It's a very sobering warning about what happens when phase 3 is stripped of its dignity. Let's move to section 5, a call to humanity. Let's see how all of this builds into the climax of our explainer. We're shifting entirely from the author's societal critique to a really hopeful, empowering call to action. The essay concludes with these powerful directives. The author bluntly calls for us to stop listening to what they term DNA-disturbed leaders, those who are obsessed only with power and systems. Instead, we have to reclaim our humanity. We need to respect everyone's right to live their own life, refuse to live at the expense of others, and contribute our natural talents wherever we possibly can. The ultimate goal presented here is incredibly uplifting: to actively build a beautiful, loving human society together, step by step. The source material leaves us with this final, echoing thought. We've seen how society tries to condition us as youths, drain us as workers, and isolate us in old age. But we've also seen that our inherent value is absolutely untouchable. So the choice is yours. Will you let your life be clipped and pruned to fit into a system? Or will you grow wild and strong, using your natural talents to live for each other? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it leaves you eager to reclaim your own unique value today.